Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 2-0 in today's pre-season friendly, the semi-final of the Asia Trophy. So they are now into the final to play against Leicester. And all in all, it was a fairly good performance. I definitely preferred watching this match to the Wigan one. I think the players in general looked a lot sharper. It looked much closer to being a competitive match than the last few games. And obviously I think some of that has a little bit to do with the team we're playing against. Obviously up against Palace, we need to put on a bit more of a show and it's going to be more of a competitive match. But in general, they're just... The team seems to have stepped up a little bit now, and it seems that maybe some of the work they're doing in training is a bit more about tactics and about working and making them gel and making them play as a unit rather than simply getting them up to speed in terms of fitness. So starting off with the first half, again, the performance was good. The finishing touch wasn't quite there. Obviously, we didn't score any of our goals in the first half, but there was a lot of promise there. The way the team played, they were creating a lot of chances. Everyone was looking to get in the box. Everyone was looking to get the ball into the box as well. But often it came down to the fact that maybe the final ball wasn't of the best quality. Crosses often tended to sort of float over the box rather than getting on the heads of any Liverpool players. And when the passes did get in, just the finish to put it in the goal wasn't quite there. But it was still very promising to see the team playing like that. Mo Salah was very good. I mean, if you needed another reminder of just how quick the player is, then you got it in that match because he was ridiculously fast at certain times. I mean, there was a time sort of similar to the situation right at the start of the game against Wigan, where he simply knocks the ball past the defender, runs all the way around him, and just beats him for pace. And it's not something you see often at the top level. So it's a good indicator of just how fast the player is, and hopefully just how useful he will be for Liverpool next season. I thought Trent Alexander-Arnold and Woodburn were very impressive as well. I mean, what stood out for me the most was sort of the way that they didn't really stand out that much, in the sense that when you watch them, you didn't get the feeling that you were watching academy players. They now look like they've gelled into the first team, and I think a lot of that comes from the groundwork that Klopp put in last season with getting them to train with the first team a lot, even if they weren't necessarily getting games. And whenever he did get the opportunity, he'd give them a little bit of game time, whether that was a substitute appearance or actually starting a match later on in the season or in the cup games. But you can see that work has started to pay off now. And, you know, Woodburn looked very calm playing that centre midfield role. It's not where we really expected him to be playing in pre-season, because we were introduced to Woodburn as an attacker and pretty much a centre forward. But I think the main reason Klopp's put him there is just to give him a little bit more time on the ball, because he's not going to be under pressure from defenders as much, and also allow him just to get the ball a little bit more, help work with the team a bit more, and give him some more opportunities to build up his confidence and get to know the game a little bit better at the top level. Trent Alexander-Arnold was very impressive on the right wing as well, and I think he complements Salah quite well as well, because I think the problem we had last season with Nathaniel Klein at right back was that while Klein is a fairly good fullback, when he gets forward, he doesn't seem to actually like going round the outside of defenders to get into the box. Often he tends to cut inside and maybe play a pass across the ground to Jordan Henderson or something like that. And I think this impacted Mane's game, because it meant that Mane was the one who had to constantly go around the outside to ensure that Liverpool were exploiting that space. But Trent Alexander-Arnold seems more than happy to attack in any fashion. He seems happy to go around the outside of a defender, get into the box and play the passes. And this opens things up for Mohamed Salah to cut inside as well, and just makes the team a little bit more unpredictable. And he adds that extra dimension to Liverpool's attack that I think they do need. I'd say my man of the half, because obviously there were two different teams effectively. There was a lot of mucking around with substitutions because there are some weird rules in the Asia Trophy, but Liverpool effectively had two different starting 11s. And my man of the half for the first half was Jordan Henderson, because he showed in that game, as he has been showing for most of pre-season so far, just how much Liverpool have missed him since he went out in about mid-February. He was given a lot of space because Crystal Palace sat back quite a lot. Like I said, it was treated like a competitive match in a way, this game. So they did sit back, they did look to defend for most of it, and that meant that there was a lot of space freed up for Jordan Henderson, and he made a lot of use of the space as well. I mean, he comes under a lot of criticism for back passing or passing to the sides, but he was spraying left, right and centre, trying all the long range passes, and generally just being optimistic and trying things that maybe he wouldn't have tried a couple of seasons ago when he was at Liverpool. So he was very influential. He was generally at the centre of everything that went on because he brought every single player into play. So I was pleased to see Jordan Henderson play that well, and hopefully he will be able to play a big role in this next season. If I had to pick a player who disappointed me slightly from that half, then I think I'd say Roberto Firmino, simply because he worked hard. I won't accuse him of not putting in the effort, but he just didn't really come into the game so much. He seemed quite isolated. He didn't really get on the ball that much. You didn't really notice him do anything. So a bit disappointing a performance from him. But as I've said in the last few videos that I've put out about pre-season, it does seem to be a sort of pattern that Roberto Firmino tends to take his time to adapt to things and to come into the game a bit more in pre-season, and it tends to be by the time you get to the actual start of the Premier League, he's ready. So nothing to worry about yet, I shouldn't think. The second half was also good, despite the aforementioned messing about with substitutes. I certainly think it was a bit better than the second half against Wigan, and I think part of that is to do with the fact that Jurgen Klopp mixed his starting 11s up slightly. In the Wigan game, it was mainly the first choice starting 11 in the first half, and then some more second string players in the second half. He mixed it up a little bit more. I think it helps to give the players opportunities to play with in different combinations to see what works best for them. And it worked. The team were a lot better to watch. Solanke took his goal very well. It was very impressive to see. It's nice to see a player who gets the ball on the edge of the box and, sort of like Daniel Sturridge, just his first thought is always to shoot. So it's nice to have another player in the Liverpool squad who can do that. I was also impressed by the fact that in that whole time he didn't actually look up from the ball at all. So it means that Solanke is the kind of player who, like Fernando Torres, maybe not with the quality of Fernando Torres just yet. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. But like Fernando Torres, he knows where the goal is and he knows how to bury a shot without even looking. So that is fab to see. Origi took his goal fairly well as well. It looked like a little bit of an accident. It was sort of like the one against West Ham where he ends up in the right place at the right time and just so happens to tuck it away. Again, if I'm asked to pick a person who disappointed me a bit in that half, I think I would say Divock Origi, simply because, like Firmino, I won't accuse him of not putting in the effort, but he didn't really get involved too much, and when he did get involved, he wasn't really creating anything exciting. He just looked a little bit sluggish and wasn't maybe as sharp or snappy in his play as some of the other players on the pitch for Liverpool. It was nice to see Coutinho in the midfield again. I think that this is probably the best place for him to play, not only because it accommodates Salah, Firmino and Mane in the front three, but it also means he can be a little bit more influential. It means he can get involved with the play a little bit more, and that's why Coutinho is also my man of the half as well, because like Jordan Henderson, he pretty much ran the show. He was getting on the ball a lot more, and I think like Woodburn, he's been put in midfield because it gives him more space and we get to see more of him on the ball, but slightly different to Woodburn in that with Coutinho we do that because he's our best player and we want him on the ball as much as possible because we know that he can create things. So I think that that's probably something that Jurgen Klopp will look to experiment more with over pre-season and hopefully during the Premier League season as well, because at the moment it looks like something that could be very effective indeed. So all in all, it was a good performance all round. The defence played well throughout pretty much all of the match, which is very good to see considering they do have a little bit of history when it comes to coming up against Crystal Palace. All of them dealt with Christian Benteke very well. Palace had a lot of their nippy, fast wingers on show as well, and while they did look like they were playing well, Wilfried Zaha was particularly good. I think he stood out of a lot of the players. Liverpool's defence dealt with them very well and in the end kept a clean sheet, which is always very nice to see. The attack, like I said, was missing the cutting edge at various points, but the important thing is that it's showing promise at the moment, and with a fair bit of pre-season left to go, we can still just sit back and hope that that eventually comes in time for the Premier League season. So again, no need to worry there. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, why not give it a like? If you're new around here, why not hit subscribe as well? I'll put the button there, and then check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel in the last few weeks. They'll be there. Apart from that, don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye for now.